Welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Sean Pickard, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Paige Phillips, the Senior Development Manager for KidsAbility. KidsAbility supports children and youth with disabilities and developmental delays to thrive through pediatric rehabilitation. Thank you for joining us today, Paige. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Excellent. Now, before we get going with KidsAbility here, let's find out a little bit more about you. What is the Paige Phillips experience? What inspired you to work at KidsAbility? Why work with individuals with disabilities?
Well, thank you for asking. My career spans about 15 years in fundraising, and previously it was in arts and culture. But upon arriving in the Waterloo region with my husband and proceeding to have children, I became aware of KidsAbility Center for Child Development and was so inspired by what they were doing for the community, the impact that they were making, and the members of the foundation team who I had gotten to know previously. I decided that I could make a big difference in this community by applying my skills as a fundraiser. So I joined the team in 2020. So just a few years now ago, and I am currently working as the Director of Philanthropy to lead the team in securing funds to support the activities of the center. It is an extremely meaningful position that I exist in. I have the privilege of learning the stories of families with children with disabilities, sharing that with the community, and helping them understand how they too can change the lives of these families by donating, by creating awareness, by volunteering, and I feel very honored to do so.
Okay, I have to ask here, Paige. I really, really do. I mean, a number of years in fundraising, but you started out in arts and culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your current position, how much overlap is there with your previous life in regards to arts and culture? How much of that are you bringing in to influence the kids with your programs?
Well, I would say in terms of how I do my job, fundraising has certain theories and certain ways in which that you achieve your objectives that I can apply in any sort of fundraising environment. But I think I've definitely been able to apply creativity and bringing that to healthcare fundraising that I was not previously used. For instance, just being able to meet with members of the KidsAbility team and have them introduced to our donors, which is very typical in performing arts, that an artist would meet a donor. The donor would have an opportunity to sort of see a behind the scenes. And we do a lot of that now at KidsAbility in doing tours and sharing sort of that backstage view of what goes on at KidsAbility. And it really does help our donors and our community understand the impact that our clinicians are making, to understand who uses our services and how we can give back and help those donors find a way to contribute in our community.
So you're actually putting a face to the name and actually making this a person, what you're presenting. I love that. Ooh, not enough of that happens, but not enough of that happens. No. Now, Paige, while I was doing my research, I saw that there are a number of services and programs that are offered by KidsAbility. Can you tell us more about the programs and services?
Absolutely. So KidsAbility exists to assess, diagnose, and provide clinical treatment, specialized programs and therapies, and equipment and resources for children and youth. So we serve children from 0 to age 21 who have communication, physical, and developmental needs. So that means that in our four walls, so we have four sites at KidsAbility. We have one in Waterloo, Kitchener, Cambridge, and Guelph, and we serve all of Guelph, Wellington, and all of Waterloo region. And our core rehab services are occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech and language pathology, and behavioral support services. So we invite families to self-refer, or they may be referred by a clinician, like a physician, sorry, or a specialist. And we are able to meet that family and make an assessment as to what the needs of that child are, and put a plan together unique to every single family and their goals for their child.
Oh, that is an awful lot going on there, Paige. And uh, I've got to ask because everyone's journey is unique through life. Now, when it comes to having a number of different kids come in and you've got a number of different paths that they can go through, how do you determine who goes what? Have you got a sorting hat? How does that happen?
Um, yes, every family looks very unique. You're right. So a child that is in the care of KidsAbility may see one therapist in one service for a number of weeks. For instance, my son did speech and language pathology for 4 weeks with a singular therapist, communication disorders assistant, and we achieved our goals within those 4 weeks. But some families do have to use our services for the entirety of their childhood. So they may be using multiple services at the same time and seeing us sometimes twice a week, sometimes more than that, and for months, years, or even, the entirety of their childhood, to ensure that we're supporting them all along the way and in that they may reach their objectives, and that looks unique to every family. So I think that we assess every family knowing their unique situation, and that can be reevaluated frequently. We do really engage the families and encourage them to be a part of the conversation, a part of the therapy. And so clinicians are always in touch with the caregivers to assess what are your child's goals? How can we get there? Because we recognize that not every child will walk, but we can help them mobilize. Not every child may talk, but we can find with their voice, but we can find a way that they can communicate. So using alternative devices or methods of communication. And so that does look different for every family. So it's really important that we're in constant communication with the caregivers and reassessing as needed.
That is some excellent steps that I hear going on there, Paige. Now let's kind of change gears a little bit here because you picked up a few things that really kind of piqued my interest here. One of the terms that you used was family engagement. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on what the other term was. I've got my notes here, but I'm missing that second term that caught my attention. I was busy making my notes is what happened. But let's kind of change gears a little bit here because we talked about the programs and services. We talked a little bit about the family engagement. How do those two go together with the workshops that are offered by KidsAbility?
Because our clients are children, it is of the utmost importance that the families and the caregivers are involved from day one. So that would be assessing the child or integrating the child into the care of KidsAbility, having conversations about that child's history, about their diagnosis, about, as I said, the goals that they want to achieve, understanding that child's needs. Further to that, during the actual therapy sessions, the parents or caregivers are present and either learning how they can support their child between appointments and at home or in their school environment, or being able to communicate back to their physician and other specialists the work that they're doing at KidsAbility. But we're making great strides at KidsAbility to ensure that the families are at the center of everything that we do. So we are currently involving families in a number of surveys and conversations to help us co-design our programs and our services. So to ask for their real lived experience to help us inform how our programs run, when they run, who's involved in those programs. And that is a really important pillar within our strategic plan right now. So for, the next 4 years, it is a priority of ours to make sure that the parents have a voice and a seat at the table.
And that's a huge thing right there, making sure parents have a seat at the table and a bit of a voice, while making sure this is still tailored to the individual. So I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Now let's talk restrictions at KidsAbility, Paige. I'm sure there's a number of different programs going on, and you've got to make sure you've got something for everyone. But when it comes to things such as age, do you break things down according to age group? Is there disability type, caregivers or family members only, things of that nature? Are there any restrictions?
So at KidsAbility, we do have the freedom to have families self-refer, and that is a wonderful option that we have. So you do not have to be referred by a physician or by a specialist. So any family that's experiencing developmental delays or noticing their child isn't hitting their milestones, they can give KidsAbility a call, and our intake social workers do an assessment to understand what those child's challenges are and what their needs are. And then within the first few weeks of that phone call, families are invited to what is called a launch group. And this is a newer initiative of ours to meet families almost immediately, hear their concerns, and address those with the expertise in the room. So a launch group is essentially a group meeting for children to have a play group. Families are in the room and are able to discuss their concerns with a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, behavioral analyst, and other clinical specialists to identify if that child is on the right path and journey with KidsAbility. So a family might say, oh, my child has needs of meeting with an occupational therapist. But in that launch group, the occupational therapist and the speech and language pathologist might discuss what they're seeing as they observe the child and say that child could benefit greatly from some speech and language as well. So it really is an opportunity for our organization to triage the care for those kids and understand what they might need. It is also a time when a family may have had concerns, but the therapists can reassure them that their child is actually meeting the appropriate developmental milestones, and they may just want some resources and some help to work on things at home. So there is an opportunity there where families may not actually need KidsAbility services, and they're directed to work on things at home or seek out assistance from other community partners that we can do an introduction to. So a soft handoff, a warm introduction, and we continue to assess how we hold and host those launch groups to make sure that we're giving parents the correct information and a supportive environment where we can make a plan with that family going forward. In terms of other restrictions, we do serve children ages 0 to 21. So at that point, we have a youth engagement team that helps families transition from KidsAbility service into the community services they may use as an adult. So that might be a restriction in the sense that we no longer care for that child as they become an adult. And so we can introduce them to other community partners where they'll receive similar services or a different kind of service that supports them in a different way. Our youth engagement team also helps those families navigate adulthood in terms of providing them with guidance in volunteerism, in employment, in post-secondary education, all to make that transition smoother and easier for families. What services a child has access to is a conversation amongst the therapists of what that child needs, and also where there is funding to be able to help those kids. So we do have a wait list. And so there are instances where a child may have to wait for a period of time. But we're doing our best through our Rocket Discovery Center, our research and innovation team, at looking at how we can meet those families earlier. Because we know the reality is, with the demand increasing steadily for our help, that there will most likely always be a wait list, just like the food bank always has people needing their services. But we're doing our best to meet those families earlier, give them support while they wait, and then increase the efficiency of our internal processes and operations so we can better serve those families once they are in our care and increase the quality of care.
That is a very hands-on approach. So I love the fact that, the guidance is always there, shall we say. Now, without using any names, Paige, can you share a success story for me? What supports were put in place when someone asked KidsAbility for help?
This is a family that has shared that they're willing to share their story publicly, but I will start again. So I know of a little boy in our region who was born with disconnected cerebral palsy. And when he was born, it was recognized that he would need several of KidsAbility's supports, from speech and language pathology, augmentative communication services, physiotherapy, occupational therapy. So it really spans the spectrum of what KidsAbility can offer. This child was in need of all of those supports. So with this child's caregiver advocating for his support, KidsAbility was able to put a plan in place, excuse me, to help that family identify the right mobility devices that he might need, to continue to evaluate that as he grows, to help adjust that wheelchair to fit his body, as it is unique to every child, where he may need adaptations made. Our social work team would work with that family to identify how they navigate the paperwork of insurance and grants to help pay for adaptations to their home and for his equipment as well, as they would need to put in place ramps and lifts and all sorts of other equipment within their bedroom and their home environment. And then this child has also required, as I mentioned, augmentative communication services. So that means that this little boy has difficulty. He cannot speak with his own voice, and he has very limited mobility and muscle development in his hands. So using a device where he would touch a button to speak a word on his behalf or communicate with his hands, he cannot do that. So he has moved through that service with the help of our speech and language pathologists and occupational therapists to identify that he would be a good candidate for eye gaze technology. And what that looks like is a computerized device attached to his mobility chair that has a piece of software in it that traces his eye movements across the screen to various words, and that then speaks on his behalf. And I have seen in person and been told by his therapists the immense success that they have seen with this young boy. He is now 4 years old and communicating through augmentative communication devices. And he is attending now the KidsAbility School, which is a special school within our child treatment center for clients of KidsAbility that have been recommended by a therapist, and he is thriving. That little boy smiles continuously, and that is because of his caregivers' endless work to advocate on his behalf and give him the most or the highest number of possibilities to ensure that he reaches his potential. And he is showing through using these alternative devices his personality, his humor, his communication with his brothers has just blossomed. And we're really proud to say that he is in a great position now with the help of his therapists and his clinicians.
He's 4 years old and using that technology to communicate. I can't do that. Like, rock on, little man. This is cool.
And it takes months and potentially years for our clients to learn how to use that, but it is a step-by-step process as dictated by the therapist to help him learn how to use that device. So it starts with just images. It moves on to images attached to a piece of plexiglass held around the therapist's face, so he can look at which photo of the toy he wants to play with, and he learns that looking at that photo will send a message or communicate to his therapist that he would like to play with that bear instead of those blocks. And it continues to progress with his training on the software. And off and away they go. I've seen a young girl as young as 3 years old who can use eye gaze technology. So it is very accessible. And we're very proud to be able to offer that service to our clients.
I love that story, Paige. That is awesome. And I'm happy to hear that you can offer that to, a number of people.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about events. There's got to be a number of things going on at KidsAbility, whether it's something as simple as a bake sale or even up to, say, a gala in the summer months. Any events coming up for KidsAbility?
Yes, we are very lucky at KidsAbility to have a foundation. And so I'm on that team along with my 9 colleagues. And we do host a number of events ourselves within the year. So coming up is the plasma car races. It is such a fun event. It is primarily corporate teams that enter a 4-person team, and they race on what is called a plasma car. So it is a small ride-on toy that we actually use in a lot of our physio and occupational therapy environments, that allows a child with low muscle development and coordination to put their legs up, and it is the steering wheel that they wiggle, and it moves forward. And so you can only imagine a 6'5" man sitting on that small wiggling car, racing against 3 others. We do heats of races, down to the final race where there is a winner for the fastest team. But we also recognize teams for the highest fundraising goal, the best costumes, the most enthusiasm. So it is an extremely fun event, and that's happening on March 4th. We also have in the fall an incredibly fun event called Musical Bingo, and it is a gala type event in which we're in an elevated environment, a very elegant event, but we're playing fun musical bingo. So we're playing the best tunes over the decades and finding those on our bingo card. And that is new as of last year. We raised over $80,000, and we're set to do that again this coming fall of 2026. We are also very lucky to have the community raise funds on our behalf. So that's what we call a third-party fundraiser. And it is community groups, businesses, and individuals who decide to do a fundraiser, and the beneficiary is chosen, and that would be KidsAbility. So a few of those of note, we are the recipients of Tim Hortons Smile Cookie Day, or Week, sorry, across Waterloo region. And then we're also the recipients of McDonald's Happy Day, McHappy Day, sorry, event, which happens in typically May. So any food that is purchased that day, a part of the proceeds go to local organizations like our own, and also Ronald McDonald House charities. And so those are coming up this spring. And there's a number of repeat golf tournaments that happen on our behalf. The Rotary of Waterloo Golf for KidsAbility event, and an event called Chips and Giggles as well. So there are quite a few that we benefit from, and we're very thankful to our community partners for choosing us.
Okay, Chips and Giggles, Paige, you can't just leave it hanging there like that. What is Chips and Giggles?
This is actually an event that I and my husband do outside of my work hours. So the KidsAbility Foundation team was granted a few years ago an opportunity to host an event at a golf course the owners were very generous to say, we would love to host KidsAbility, to hold an event. And so our team at the time didn't have the capacity to take it on. And so my husband and I said, well, we could do it. And so very proud to say this coming summer on July 15th, we will host the 4th annual Chips and Giggles. And as you can guess, I won't say it here, but you can guess it's a play on a certain saying. And that's because our golf tournament or event, as we like to call it, is for fun. It is for fundraising. It is for KidsAbility. It's not about the golf. It's about having a good time. It's about gathering together with friends and family and other local businesses and supporters to celebrate what KidsAbility does in this community, raise some funds. And maybe you're hitting a ball around a golf course for some fun, but nobody keeps score and everyone dresses up in the most hilarious costumes. We have a DJ blaring great music all day long. We have ice cream available on the course. There's a burger afterwards. So we always just encourage everyone, don't take yourself too seriously. It's about the kids. It's about having a good day. So that is what Chips and Giggles is all about.
Chips and Giggles sounds like an awesome time. But I have to say, the plasma car race, if you can make that into a Le Mans type thing where it goes like 12 hours through the night, that would be entertaining.
That'd be pretty exhausting, I think.
It would be. You'd need much bigger teams, but that could be entertaining. But what is the one thing, Paige, that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be? How do we stop it?
I think what's most important is that individuals or the parents of individuals with disability, in our case, always deserve a voice, deserve to have a place at the table, deserve to have an opinion and share their feedback in our case, what services we are offering, how we are offering them, how their families are receptive to those programs, if they're effective. And we as an organization need to listen, and we're doing our best to do exactly that, to invite those families to be a part of the conversation, to have a say, to share their feelings as well as their ideas, and for us to take that into account and really change and reinvent how care is delivered to best serve those families, and not to make any guesses, to ask them, to be direct. And so I think the senior leadership team and the clinicians at the KidsAbility Center are doing a fabulous job. We're also at this point involving families to the extent that we are offering honorariums, and we are paying them for their time. We are ensuring that we show how meaningful their input is and how valuable their time is, because we understand that their lives are very busy and are very complicated when you have a child with a disability. So to show how much we appreciate their involvement as well. And always, making family-centered care a priority within our strategic plan means that every decision we make, that is at the forefront. And so I really applaud the center team for doing that, and proud to share that within our community when I'm talking to donors.
That is some incredible work there. But let's move on to contact, right? If someone wanted to become a member or volunteer with KidsAbility, what's the process if someone wants to join both as a member or as a volunteer?
Thank you for asking that. We always welcome members of the community to become involved. If that's becoming an advocate, if that's becoming a volunteer at our events, a volunteer within the clinical spaces as well. And so you can find more information about KidsAbility at kidsability.ca, and following the prompts, if you're interested in making a donation or being a volunteer or learning more about our organization, it is all there. And I would also encourage you to sign up for our newsletters. There's both family newsletters and donor-centric or, public-centric newsletters to understand what we're up to and what opportunities there are. And we are on all of the social channels. So Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube as well. You can find out what we're all about, who we serve, what we do, and how to get in contact there. On Instagram, we are at KidsAbility.ca. And on Facebook, and LinkedIn, we are KidsAbility Center for Child Development. We would encourage everybody to follow those channels and the e-news to understand how they can get involved.
Excellent. Now, for the big question here, Paige, we've talked a little bit about the programs you offer. We've talked a little bit about the impact you've had on some people. And we've talked a little bit about how people can get involved. But what's the one thing that everybody needs to know about KidsAbility?
From a family standpoint, I want everyone to know that if you have questions or you have concerns, you are able to self-refer. And parents are able, or caregivers are able to access that through our website. It is a simple form that they would fill out, and they would be given a phone call to address those concerns and make a plan of action and to assess their family's needs. There is no need for a referral. And I think that's something that there's a lot of assumptions made about. And unfortunately, some families have waited a long time for that referral when they could have reached out from the get-go. So it is of the utmost importance that we provide early intervention. So as soon as you have a question about your child, reach out and we can help you navigate that. You're not alone. And if it's not KidsAbility services that you might require, we'll help you find the right service within the community to do so. To a donor, I would say that every dollar makes a difference, and your support of KidsAbility ensures that every child and youth within our community of Waterloo Region and Guelph Wellington can receive immediate expertise and, more importantly, the hope and the reassurance and the guidance that they need as a family to navigate their child's disability.
That is some great stuff, Paige. But unfortunately, we're running out of time here. So before we go, let's make sure everyone knows how they can reach out to you, whether it's 1-800 number, website, carrier pigeon, things of that nature. People want more information. How do they get it?
If a family needs to get in touch with us, you can see us at kidsability.ca, or for general inquiries, you can call us at 519-886-8886 or 1-888-372-2259.
Any social media or anything there, Paige?
And our social media tags on Instagram is at kidsability.ca. And on Facebook and LinkedIn, it is KidsAbility Center for Child Development.
Excellent. That's all the time we have for today, though, Paige. Would you like to say goodbye to the folks at home?
Yes, thank you so much for having us. And I hope you've learned something valuable about KidsAbility and get to know our organization a little bit better.
Thank you for joining me today, Paige. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Paige Phillips, the Senior Development Manager for KidsAbility. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. I'm your host, Sean Pickard. Until next time, bye for now.